Hey guys, it's Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time on Doctor Who Classic, so I started reading the title and that screwed me up. We had the Celestial Toymaker. What was that one about?
It was about 2 hours too long. It was, I mean, it's a classic kind of theme for sci-fi. You know, you get this person who can literally do anything, makes games out of everything. But now, aside from the fact that it was a recon, it was visually static. The games were not all that enjoyable. I mean, we had a couple of clowns, one of whom couldn't speak. We had, ballerinas who were supposed to be in a dance contest, and they didn't really dance. And then we had the Sergeant and Mrs. Lovett, or whatever that was,
right.
Where they literally just destroyed the set looking for a key, which turned out to be in a pie, and nobody even got a pie in the face. So by the time it was over, we were, I think, both very disappointed, both very disillusioned by the illusion of the Toymaker.
And probably one of the biggest problems was that it pretty much didn't have the Doctor whatsoever.
He was actually invisible for 2 episodes.
He was invisible, and then he couldn't speak. So, and we were, speculating that it might have been the attempt to get Hartnell off the show and replace him with a different actor. We still can't say whether or not that was true because we haven't seen you guys' comments. I haven't even edited that video at time of recording this, so yeah, I'm unsure if that was actually the case, but I think that was it. But yeah, at the end, the Doctor did come back, and it is still Hartnell, and they left to go do something else. So,
and I don't remember that I don't think they showed any kind of what's coming next scene or anything.
I don't remember. I would think that they did, but I don't remember if there was anything specific. So, but yeah, today we are on serial number 8. I think this is actually like the longest season we've had, and this is actually going to 10 serials, so this one's definitely pretty long. And today's a complete serial.
Yay!
100%, which is nice.
Also an intriguing title, The Gunfighters.
Yeah. I have no idea what... I mean, I would assume that we're back to the historicals, but I don't know. We will have to see. I guess that's pretty much it.
I guess so.
So we might as well go ahead and get right into this episode of Doctor Who. Here we go.
This is also kind of a classic time travel thing. There was a Star Trek, the original series, where they basically were put into the OK Corral, the gunfight there in the late 1800s in Tombstone, Arizona.
So fill up your glasses and
well, look, the OK Corral.
Well then,
right
I do remember seeing that title at the end of last episode, but there was no tie-in.
All right. The twist there, of course, is one of the gunfighters is Doc Holliday.
Ah, gotcha.
Don't we like Donald Cotton?
I don't remember. I've lost track of them all at this point.
Real horses. Wow.
Now the big question is, when was that Star Trek episode released?
Probably not the first season.
That didn't stop Holiday filling him full of holes.
Where'd we all meet up with Seth?
The Last Chance Saloon.
What for do we need Seth Harper? Paul's paying him and Paul wants us to work along
The American
with him.
accents leave something to be desired.
Yeah.
The most ghastly toothache, paralyzing pain.
It serves you right for eating that sweet. Aren't there any painkillers on the TARDIS?
Is there anything I can get to?
No, my dear, thank you. No, I just have to have it out. We've got to find a dentist.
Oh,
Where are
Doc Holliday's a dentist.
This is probably not the place you want to go to for a dentist, though.
Very observant.
I was just practicing my quick draw.
Oh, do be careful.
He has done a southern accent on the show before.
My favorite collection.
Look, I don't have to meet him. I've seen pictures. I've had him described to me. Dapper little fellow with a black box-back coat, gambler's fancy vest.
So fine.
The Doctor?
So we'll know him when we
Or
find him.
Stephen?
Miss Dodo Dupont, Wizard of the Ivory Keys, and Stephen Regret Tenor, and lastly, sir, your humble servant, Dr. Caligari.
Doctor Who?
Yes, you're quite right. I've just been satisfied with the
Doctor.
that we're a
That was a good line.
traveling players, unfortunately, sir.
Where is the dog, Bat?
Opened himself for surgery right along the street. Walk that way, friend. You can't miss it.
Oh, I'm vastly obliged to you, Sheriff.
If I could walk that way, I wouldn't need the talcum powder.
No doubt, sir.
The time will be soon when there's blood upon the sword.
Not every scene transition needs this song.
Last
I also thought it'd be funny if Doc Holliday goes to fix his teeth, but his teeth are different from human teeth, so he doesn't know where it is.
It's your last chance of losing when there's no one to mind.
This is probably also why he has to regenerate soon, so he can fix his teeth.
Give this to our friend the doctor with my compliments.
Sure, man.
So Holiday ain't traveling alone this time.
It should just... He should have put...
Regret.
You sure Holiday don't know?
They really didn't think to write Dr. Caligari instead of the doctor.
Oh, you don't owe me nothing, mister. You're my first customer. You have this one on the house.
That's good. I don't think they have money.
Oh, and of course, Doc Holliday had tuberculosis, had consumption, so he would be coughing blood into a handkerchief. That's why he would be mistaken.
Blood upon the sword in the last
But
chance saloon.
there's only one thing that the doctor is missing, and that's a mustache.
It's your last chance of losing when there's no one to find. It's your last chance of losing, and the first place you find 4 days ride from the station, and you'll leave it at noon. And your one consolation is the last chance.
Now I want to see who this guy Harper is. Name doesn't sound familiar, but he's one of those great British character actors from the '60s, and he was probably in a James Bond film or something. That's why he looks familiar.
Well, this is quite the predicament they've gotten themselves into.
Yeah.
Oh boy, just like there was a lot in that episode too, by the way. And I'm very curious, because clearly they can't recognize Doc Holliday enough to distinguish him from the Doctor.
Yeah.
So
although they are similar, I mean, similar build and the long hair, and the only thing, like you said, is the mustache.
Right. So, but Seth Harper, who went in there, he still thought it was him, even without the mustache. So I don't know how the Doctor's not going to walk in there and immediately get shot, unless he can talk his way out of it. And again, and this is only because we know that the regeneration happens at all, it would be hilarious if that's how the Doctor regenerated. He got shot at the OK Corral. Oh, boy.
Well, it's also nice to see them injecting some humor back into it.
Yeah.
Some of it's a bit labored, but it's certainly not, I don't want to say that the Celestial Toymaker was grim, but, it was unfunny. They had the clowns and everything else, and it was pitiful.
Yeah. It's also funny hearing Steven do the Southern accent again. Although he doesn't have to be quite so over the top with it now.
Yeah.
Well, it's also interesting, too, because he's definitely going back and forth between his accents, and Dodo is just not attempting an accent at all, and neither is the Doctor.
Yeah.
So that might be another interesting point. I guess, I don't know, these cowboys probably didn't hear a British accent, but they don't hear the Doctor's accent and think, that's kind of odd.
Yeah. Although he did say they were traveling players. There ain't no theater here in Tombstone.
Well.
Doc, I would like you to meet the Clanton brothers.
The Clanton brothers. Oh, dear. I mean, Andrew.
Recognize the name, Doc?
Is he starting to remember things?
Yes, I do indeed. My dear young lady,
Kill the next one that moves.
Yes, quite so. Very good idea. Excellent. Well, you heard. Stephen, get their guns!
A little faster, Stephen.
Line them up against the piano.
Yes, excellent idea. Well, gentlemen, you will move over in an orderly fashion. You too.
Grumble, grumble, grumble.
Wyatt Earp is gunning for me, and you know that in my whole life I never killed a friend.
Oh, you're a real gentleman.
Go get back.
Didn't I tell you, honey?
As a real gentleman that let the doctor go in to get shot and then get arrested.
There won't be no flying till your last long ride.
Hey, Dodge City's in Kansas. Yes. 800-900 miles away from Tombstone, Arizona.
What on earth for?
Use it to bluff your way out. The Clanton gang still think that you're Doc Holliday. I'll be waiting for you outside. We must get back to the TARDIS.
Please, but my dear boy,
Look, there's no time to argue, Doctor. We've only got 10 minutes.
So the plan is do the Clayton brothers' plan, but faster than them.
And I wouldn't try it if I were you. I have no intention of trying anything. Only people keep giving me guns, and I do wish they wouldn't. I wonder, would you mind looking after it for me?
My pleasure.
You Doc Holliday?
That is my name.
I was gonna say, it's not something you really want to admit. Also, he really shouldn't have fallen on that counter.
Yes, a real bar would have never budged.
Doc Holliday.
It's your last chance to hide, and your last chance of singing till your last long ride.
All right. It's always the same two verses as well. That's what also doesn't help.
Yeah.
I actually thought it'd be kind of funny if every time they did a new verse, they wrote the lyrics specifically about what was happening in the episode.
Yeah.
So,
but you have to admit the script itself is very tight.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of padding in this one. And they've got three separate stories. They got Dodo, who's basically been kidnapped by Doc Holliday and Miss Kate, and then the doctor's in jail, and Steven's out there playing idiot and about to get strung up. So I mean, it's well written, and again, just the right touch of humor about it.
Yeah.
Again, the only thing we have to say about it is just the accents, which of course in 1966 Britain nobody would have thought twice about it.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
To us who actually live in an area where they have accents.
Yeah.
It's like very painful to the ears.
And also that wanted poster was something Kansas.
Yeah.
That it's always funny when there's something like that because you just imagine it's like, do they think Kansas is right next door to Arizona? I mean, granted, I'd actually be very curious, if people from Europe took a quiz online of each state, how many they would actually get right.
Yeah. Now, I will say this. If I recall correctly, Wyatt Earp had actually been in Dodge City prior to moving to Tombstone. So, if he had brought that with him, that would certainly make sense. But, again, the time between Dodge City and Tombstone was somewhat substantial, if I recall correctly. So, it seemed out of place there to have a wanted poster that's... and again, as somebody will probably point out, it may be that in the TV sets of the 1960s, you wouldn't have been able to read that. We can see it because we're on modern day screens.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know, but it's just a minor point where I'm totally enjoying this. I'm having a great time with it.
Yeah, we were watching this in. Now I don't know if these episodes have been remastered or cleaned up or anything, but we are watching this on a 1080p HD monitor where they didn't even have pixels on those old TVs.
Yeah.
So,
anyway, let's find out about Johnny Ringo. And Virgil Earp has to appear at some point because Virgil was the fourth, if I recall correctly, the fourth guy at the OK Corral. It was Wyatt, his brother Virgil, and Doc Holliday and Bat Masterson. And there were five members of the Clanton gang.
Look, what can I do?
You can stay out of sight. Lay him out, Bat, if you try.
I'm beginning to wonder if the guy on the poster is Johnny Ringo, since there's now 3 or 4 of them that we're seeing here.
Yeah. Why did he take the doctor out of his cell?
The doctor opened it.
Well, I reckon you'll live.
but he ain't gonna enjoy it for a while.
Was it necessary for Mr. Work to hit him so hard?
Now then, Doctor, it wasn't your neck in the noose just now. I, for one, am very grateful to Mr. Work.
My pleasure, boys. We shan't be here to see the outcome. Tomorrow morning we're leaving.
Yeah, I was thinking, because he had the toothache and got it removed, like, that could explain any line flubs. His mouth still hurts.
I've got to get back too, remember?
Sure. I promised the little lady that I see her back home with her friends. Now, Kate, you know that a gentleman has to take account of these things. Right now, I'm
Why did he take Dodo
rustle
again?
up some food for us all.
Basically for insurance, I guess.
I guess.
Promises. Not again.
It's all right, ladies, it's all right. I just ran into an old friend, and he kind of lost his appetite.
You had to shoot him 4 times?
Yeah, that was a lot of bullets for one guy.
You sure got the shakes real bad.
It's on the house, sir.
I never figured different.
I won't say nothing to nobody.
Now, ain't that just the truth? Hey, Charlie. Good night, Charlie.
So it's
Well, now who's gonna run the bar?
for Charlie. Now Charlie the barman has gotten a shroud.
Getting a little grim there.
The verses are starting to be about what's happening.
Now, how do you reckon get back to Tombstone without me?
I shall try not to kill you. I shall aim for
A
your arm.
horse.
That's real thoughtful. Just at the moment, you're aiming right between my eyes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that better?
It's an improvement.
Right. Now take me back to Tombstone.
We'd be mighty grateful.
I'm sure you would. Pop. There's just one thing. If you get between me and him, boy, don't go looking to me to hold my fire. I'd blast you down as soon as spit at you.
Thanks. Disgusting habit.
So, Brother Mo, I could maybe change my mind.
Oh, now.
Don't push your luck, Kate. Just go get your things. While I tell Regret that there's been a change of plan. Get!
So basically, we're all playing a game of musical towns. So now we have to go back to Tombstone. Well, I guess the timeline has changed.
I don't remember this part, but I do know that Virgil's supposed to be there.
For Warren, they've done work it down, and them bad cruel
They call him Warren?
Warren.
Okay, so he's not Virgil.
in the Last Chance Saloon.
Alright. That episode was definitely a let's make sure we get everyone in the right place, but oh boy. Alright.
Well, again, the story holds together. And again, I don't remember a Warren Earp. I knew that there was a Morgan and a Virgil. And I knew that Morgan was occupied elsewhere, but Virgil is supposed to be there. So obviously Virgil's going to be coming in this last episode.
Yeah. He'll be like the Aeneas in Troy. He'll just show up at the last second. It'll be great.
Now, I'm trying to remember. I think that we've been to Tombstone. I think the last time we went out to Tucson, we drove through Tombstone. I don't know that we stayed any great amount of time, but I think we at least drove through that area. I'd have to ask Mom or Jordan to verify that, but I do vaguely recall going through Tombstone.
You know, now that I think about it, Tombstone's not the greatest thing to call your town. Like,
well, that was kind of the point.
yeah.
You know, it was one of those places where the outlaws, the desperados, and the criminals from both sides of the border, and even probably some of the hostile tribes. That's a place where they could feel relatively safe. And one of the reasons that Wyatt Earp is there is because they needed somebody to come in and clean up the town. It was literally the town that the law had forgot or something. That was I think what they called it. And so Wyatt came in with Virgil and Bat Masterson and basically tamed the town. This is, of course, the big event, the shootout at the OK Corral. The Clanton gang and Johnny Ringo. Again, if I recall correctly, there's 5 of them and 4 of the Earps. And in the shootout, I think all of the Clantons are killed. But don't quote me on that. Again, it's been a while since I've thought about this story. So anyway, that's my vague memory of it.
They did see him shoot a gun out of Seth Harper's hand.
That was nothing to do with me.
Oh, but they think it was. And boy, you had him lined up against that piano like Skittles in an alley. Why, you're going to be a useful man to have around.
Skittles are bowling pins, not the snack that you eat.
Yeah. I figured that. I was just like, I don't know what they're supposed to be, so I'm just imagining Skittles like in an alleyway.
You could shorten the odds some.
And I'd help shorten them some more.
Well, hallelujah, this is my brother Virgil.
There he is.
For a thirsty man.
You don't know Pop, do you?
Howdy. Howdy. Would you mind not calling me Pop?
Well, let's get on back to the office. Come on, Bat.
I think he would take Doc over Pop.
Morgan can't make it.
They played out the game and we never more shall hear a story the like of the OK Corral.
This is definitely feeling like one of those, the big event is going to happen while the Doctor legs it back to the TARDIS.
Isn't it time you went to bed, Doctor?
Oh, how can I possibly sleep, my dear, knowing that Stephen is mixed up with all this?
I'm quite sure that Stephen can take care of himself.
Yes, but I'm not just worrying about Stephen, my dear.
I wonder if they will put him out so that Doc Holliday can circle around and get Johnny Ringo.
Maybe.
Start firing before they get into range. And go on firing so they don't get a chance to look behind them. Because that's where I'll be.
I'm sorry, Johnny.
That worked out.
Oh, now, Missy, you sure do perplex me. Come on now, you get the hell out of here.
I'm sorry, Doc. I was
It's the
only
third time they've said, get the hell out of here, or some version of that.
No.
That was very unusual on television in the 60s.
I don't think these guys really know what cover is.
It's a terrible, terrible injustice. You know, I'm very tempted to...
Listen.
So fill up your glasses and join in the song. The Lord's right behind you and it won't...
Oh, my dear Dodo. My dear Dodo. You know, you're fast becoming a prey to every cliche-ridden convention in the American West. It's high time we left. We've now reached the distant horizon of an age of peace and prosperity. Now, I'm going to be off.
I'm gonna doubt that.
Are we back to the cavemen?
Oh no. Future cavemen. Alrighty. That's the Gunfighters.
Now, again, perfect little thing at the end there. When Doc Holliday unrolls the wanted poster, it has the Doctor's picture rather than his.
Yeah, that would have been funny. Okay. Well, that was really good.
Yeah.
Definitely really, really good, especially after the last one.
And again, the only even small quibble we had about it was the song that kept repeating itself mercilessly. But well written. I mean, you know, again, other than the accents, good characterizations.
Yeah.
It follows pretty much history. You're right. It was rather surprising that they did show the execution, basically, of the Clantons. Although I did notice there was no blood,
Yeah.
But yeah, for 1966, that was a fairly accurate portrayal.
Yeah. And it's also interesting because, it's one of those, like, okay, so it's a pure historical, so how do we fit in the Doctor and the gang into there, but not change history?
Yeah.
It's honestly one of those things where it's like, okay, that has to be, like, very strange to sort of write for. It's like, okay, history can't change. This has to happen exactly how it happened, but we have to add in 3 other characters that weren't there.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Again, the idea that the Doctor looks like Doc Holliday, but doesn't look exactly like him, and so that people would easily mistake him, especially when Stephen and Dodo call him Doctor.
Right.
And the only thing, again, with that is I understand that they needed to make Stephen and Dodo, look like the 1950s cartoon version of cowboys and cowgirls.
Yeah.
But that could have been toned down just a little bit. So other than that, again, I thought it was well written, well produced. The sets were phenomenal, just absolutely phenomenal, every one of them. And so I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. And it's also, because we've sort of had this story thing before where it's like, the Doctor looks like someone here, which, before we had, like, the Abbot in the St. Bartholomew's Eve, but that was just so different because, he was separate and stuff like that, whereas this way it was a lot better, where it's like, yes, he does look like Doc Holliday, but, if you put the two of them next to each other, you can easily tell the difference. Yeah. Doc Holliday has a little bit more color in his hair, first off, and he does have a mustache where the Doctor doesn't. So
I'm really kind of surprised. I'll have to go back and look at the actual history there, because I would have sworn that Bat Masterson was part of the shootout. Now, maybe not. Maybe they got it right. But I remember, and I also thought that the Clanton's father was there. Again, I thought it was originally 5 against 4. So, but I'll have to look it up.
Yeah. Let's see. We can go ahead and hop into the notes. The first thing I wrote down was just the OK Corral, which it's an interesting location to have an episode for.
Yeah.
First off, just going to America, which we don't often do. But also going to the Old West, which again is funny, watching all these British actors try to put on an accent. And it's also, convenient that it's like, okay, well, the Doctor has this toothache, so that naturally takes him to Doc Holliday, who is a dentist.
Yeah.
Which I do only now remember that at the end of last episode, where they got the little snacks from the one guy, the Doctor bit into it, and that's when he got his toothache, and then that carries in. So that's
nice
pretty funny. Yeah. And then just the whole thing of the Doctor being mistaken for Doc Holliday. And it's just like, it's not just that it's like, okay, well, yeah, he looks like Doc Holliday, but also the fact that he is called the Doctor, so it doesn't help.
And he's got on a frock coat and a vest, which is, again, very 1800s. And you're right, it's the first time he's actually fit in without ever having to change into something else.
Right.
Just the addition of the cowboy hat, and he would have walked around Tombstone and nobody would have thought anything of it other than his accent.
Right. Which nobody really questioned their accents.
Yeah. Well, again, because at the very beginning, when he said they were a troupe of traveling players, at that time, one of the groups that would have traveled around the United States would have been British players.
Yeah.
I don't know that there would have been a whole lot of American acting companies.
I also like that the Doctor, I guess this is the first time the Doctor's really taken on an alias just immediately, instead of just saying, oh, I'm the Doctor.
Yeah.
I do like that he goes with Dr. Caligari. I thought that was pretty funny. So, let's see. And we also had for aliases, we had Stephen being a singer and then Dodo being, a piano player, which they both then had to do in the saloon.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's ever been set up before. I mean, we don't know a whole lot about Dodo. So by does he guess? I mean, is this part of the conversations they've had back on the TARDIS that she is, because to say to the bad guys, yeah, she's a piano player. If she went over there and started just pounding away, clanking at it, that would have been a dead giveaway. Accent on the dead.
Nah.
So Stephen, we've never heard him sing before, so that was kind of an interesting thing that he said that. Pardon the use of the word interesting, because that could have turned out very badly for them.
Yeah. Well, they even say oh, I hope the piano knows this song. So was it that it's a piano that can play the music on its own, and she was just doing that because then also Stephen had to play the piano, and he did it pretty flawlessly too. It's like. If I can't just sit down at a piano and immediately I'm good at it.
Yeah.
So
now I don't know how long the player piano has been around. The one where you literally just crank it up and it plays the tune.
Yeah.
So again, that would be something we could check. But again, very minor thing. Again, it was more of how does the Doctor know that she can play the piano, and how does he know that Stephen can sing?
Because this is the third adventure we've had with Dodo. So we've only really known her on the Ark and then in the Celestial Toymaker. So it is very interesting. It's like, oh, does he know that, or is he just making that up? Because he also said it's like, oh, well, you're not going to need to actually sing or play the piano. We're just need a cover story, basically. Yeah. So
and this just occurred to me. We've gone. You might recall at the end of Celestial Toymaker last week, I said that I thought that was one of the worst scripts ever, and now this is one of my new favorites. I don't even vaguely remember this one from the '60s. So you've gone from literally one of the worst serials that we've seen up to now one of the best ones because of, again, the production values, the script, and the performances, everything. It's just astounding from week to week how you can go that different on a weekly show like this, or a monthly show like this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's all down to the writers. I don't remember who wrote. Wasn't it I think it was two people that wrote the last serial. Yeah. So I don't know. It's all just. I guess it is just all down to the writers, and then one of the major problems with last episode was just how do we make these kind of mundane games visually interesting, and it just didn't work. Yeah. So whereas here it's mainly in the script that carries everything, and then yes, the performances that elevate the script, but there's not really the sets are really just used for the locations.
The fact that they had real horses, the fact that the studio floor was covered with dirt for the street scenes, and that there were tumbleweeds and that sort of stuff. So it's just astounding detail that we did not see in the Celestial Toymaker.
Yeah, that's true. Because it's also, we said in the Ark that it's like, okay, these sets are really big now, and there's so many people, and there was a moving vehicle, and they had an elephant in the studio, and it's like, okay, the budget has really, really gone up, which was interesting after the Daleks' master plan. It's like, okay, that was 12 episodes. I thought that would eat away at the budget, so maybe you have to take it easy for a while. But no, we seem to be ramping up more and more.
Yeah.
So let's see here. And then we did have, obviously we had the Doctor being mistaken for Doc Holliday, and then going out of town. I actually didn't write too many notes for this one, so we're kind of jumping around here. Okay, so we did have the going out of town, which was interesting. Well, first off, it's interesting that Wyatt Earp is actually friends, I guess, with Doc Holliday. I don't know how that would have come about, because this is clearly an outlaw who goes around killing people.
But he wasn't always. And again, I think in their earlier days, they had been friends, and it was only after Dodge City that Doc Holliday got into some questionable stuff. But then when he showed up in Tombstone, you got the dual action there of here's a really good friend of mine from the old times, but now he's got some real problems, and do I stick by him as a friend, or because now I'm the law? But then again, Wyatt Earp had some really bad stuff in his past too, so maybe it was just saying, look, Doc, I'll do what I can, but if you're going to stay in my town now that I'm the law, you're going to have to play it straight.
Yeah.
And of course, now again, they didn't play this up at all, but Doc Holliday did have consumption. He had tuberculosis, and he was very ill and didn't live much longer after this, if I recall correctly.
Well, yeah, because you said that he would be coughing blood into a handkerchief, which would have worked out because the doctor was doing that because he got his tooth pulled. Yeah. Which, I mean, that could be, another reason. Obviously we're sort of coming up with, like, reasons for the doctor to regenerate, obviously almost 60 years after the fact, whereas they were just, going through making episodes until eventually they replaced him.
Yeah.
But I would like to think that is another reason, like, if we could, like, make a list of every reason why the doctor needs to finally have his first regeneration, getting a tooth pulled with no anesthetic at all in the Old West, that could be a reason.
And that tooth looked disgustingly brown.
Yeah.
Now, if it was just something that had occurred because he had eaten some sweets, that's one thing. But, I mean, that thing looked like it had been decaying for centuries.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, even if you pull a tooth out, and it's, obviously would have some blood on it, it should still be relatively white, or, yellow. But, I mean, that thing looked like something you would have picked up out of an Egyptian tomb or something like that. So.
Yeah. Which, I mean, the doctor is hundreds of years old, but you'd think his biology would also extend to his teeth.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
So, discussion of dental hygiene in Doctor Who.
Yeah. Well, it's also just funny because, they set up, obviously, for the doctor to end up in Doc Holliday's office, but it's just interesting because it's like, they bring up, this is the only time they've ever brought up, the doctor needs something medically, and it just so happens that this is probably one of the worst places you could be is the Old West for dentistry. I mean, like, granted, like, there's no time earlier than that probably would have been any better, but, like, it's right here, right when he needs help with a toothache, he ends up in the Old West. So, I also wrote down that the doctor was very anti-gun in this episode, which, lines up with his character. I like just the almost, I want to say, like, naive lengths that he has with denying guns and stuff. Like, when they're giving him the belt and, Doc Holliday gave him his gun, he seemed very, like, almost naive about it, about what was actually happening, which was funny. And yeah, it was kind of like Back to the Future 3 where, it's like, oh, thanks for the gun and stuff, and then just behind they start measuring Marty McFly. It's the only thing, that was the only thing missing, So, and I also like, well, because Steven is always dragged into some horrible situation, so he has to figure out what to do. I love that it's like, okay, the Clanton brothers, they come up with a plan to kill the doctor, and then Steven, obviously Steven figures it out, and so he tries to figure out, okay, I'll go through the plan, but I'll just escape with the doctor faster than they can get there. So he goes over, and he's really frantic about it. It's like, okay, take the gun, bluff, you gotta bluff your way out of there, and then, we'll hightail it before the Clantons get here. And the doctor's like, oh, okay. Here, you should probably hold on to this, Marshall. I don't want that. So, Steven's gonna come by with the Clanton brothers. Could you tell him that I don't want a gun? So, I thought that was really funny.
Militant pacifist.
Yeah. So, let's see. We did say that that Doc Holliday took Dodo for insurance, I guess, but I'm not really sure what the insurance was for. Like, it was very odd, I think.
Well, I mean, that's what I was assuming is just, making sure that he wasn't going to be followed. He may have just been, like he said, the Southern gentleman who said, I can't leave this poor girl here because she would be in trouble, so he took her for her own safety.
Yeah.
But also it seems to me that, somewhere in the back of his mind he was scheming that if somebody did come, he might be able to say, hey, listen, I'll trade you this hostage for my release and Katie's release. So I don't know. It could be either way.
Yeah. I did also like the scene where Dodo does hold him at gunpoint, and it's like, well, no, I'm just gonna hit your arm. It's like, okay, well, you're aiming between my eyes. Like, oh, is this better? It's like, it's a start. So I did like that.
Yeah. Again, the writing on this, the dialogue was really, really good.
Yeah. Let's see. Steven almost got hanged. So it's a little stressful, you know.
Now, there was one thing about that, again, just very minor thing. But they put the noose around his neck, and then they started to pull on the rope, but that noose wouldn't have worked unless they had tightened the noose.
Well, it looked like they were starting to tighten it, and then they just stopped, and then the scene just kept going, so...
Again, that's all very minor stuff. And again, I think if we'd been watching this week by week, 60 years ago, we would have never noticed stuff like that.
Yeah, so... let's see. Again, I still don't quite understand why they let the Doctor out of the prison when they were all coming to get Doc Holliday, and they just let it... Well, okay, it cut back, and the Doctor let himself out of the cell, but where did he get the key?
The key was already in it.
Yeah, so, I don't know, that just seemed a bit odd.
Now, again, I thought they were setting up of using because the Clantons were talking about they were going to be bait for Johnny Ringo, and I thought they were thinking about using the Doctor, have him at least walk out to a certain spot. When the Clantons open fire, the Doctor can walk away, and then the real Doc Holliday would come out. But then again, Bat Masterson wasn't there, so
well, because they also said, start firing even before they come into range, and then keep firing. So basically, it would keep them occupied on not getting shot, so that Ringo could come over and shoot from behind. So they could have done that, and it kind of seemed like that was what Doc Holliday was going to do, was send out the Doctor, and then while they were all distracted thinking that was him, he goes around and kills the Clantons. So, I don't know. It was interesting having Johnny Ringo as sort of like almost a secondary antagonist almost.
Yeah.
So I like that. And he killed the bartender. That's just...
that's just who he is,
I mean, yeah, but who's going to serve the drinks now? I don't know. It seemed...
Well, Katie will probably take over the bar now.
Yeah. It seems... It's one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, he's that kind of bad guy that he would kill the bartender and stuff, and it's like, yeah, but practically speaking, now we don't have a bartender, and it's like, you don't really got to think practically with someone like
Although
Ringo.
If Katie left Tombstone with Doc Holliday, somebody's bound to take over. The bar is a very lucrative business.
Yeah.
It is. That and the hotel would have been the two biggest money-making enterprises in a town like Tombstone.
Yeah. But the bartender was never paid in the span of this entire episode. because that was also the thing I was thinking, when Doc Holliday says to the Doctor's like, oh, well, you're my first customer, so this one's on the house. It's like, well, good. The Doctor doesn't have money, really. Like, he just sort of wings it without money.
Yeah.
And then, when Steven and Dodo go to get rooms, they clearly don't pay for those rooms. Yeah. They just get the rooms.
Yeah, I don't know if they would have been expected to pay when they got out. It seems to me that in a rough and tumble town like that, you would have paid in advance. So yeah, that did seem kind of unusual.
And then obviously Ringo didn't pay for his drink, so unless you count the bullet he gave him as payment. So, and then we had the musical towns going where Doc Holliday went to another town, and then as he left, Ringo went to that town, and then they left, and they all ended up back in Tombstone. So.
Yeah, and that area is south and east of Tucson. So maybe Bisbee, maybe Sierra Vista, or because those are the towns that are still down that way. Or it could have been just some other little tiny settlement that may not even be there anymore. And by the way, if you're ever out in southern Arizona, Tucson is a beautiful town, as is Sierra Vista and Bisbee. So definitely stop in there. I went to the University of Arizona. That's where I got my undergraduate degree. Had a great time out there. So
don't go in summer.
No, it's hot and very, very dry. Very, very dry.
Oof. The moment you step out of a vehicle, moisture's gone.
Literally sucks the moisture out of your eyeballs and out of your mouth. I mean, it's humidity is usually down around 10%, and that's very, very low.
Yeah, and normally that would be great because I hate the humidity. It curls my hair, which it's sort of doing now already. But not that you don't want humidity. You don't want zero humidity, but like 120 degree heat.
Yeah.
So,
but it's a dry heat.
A bonfire is a dry heat. Anyway. Let's see. And then I guess just the rest of the episode was just the war between the Earps and the Clantons. Great names for all of them, by the way. Clanton is, you can sort of see that as a normal name. Earp is just a funny name, honestly. So.
Oh, and weird little story. Wyatt Earp, after surviving the gunfight there, he did survive several more years, if I recall correctly, in Tombstone. Ultimately moved out to California, though. And in his later life, he actually became like a consultant on Western films. And in the, I want to say 1920s, he met a young actor who was originally named Marion Michael Morrison. But talked to him, and this kid was wanting to know how to be a realistic gunfighter and cowboy and everything. And it turns out the kid ended up changing his name and became one of the best cowboys of all time. He called himself John Wayne after that. So the real Wyatt Earp met John Wayne before Wyatt Earp had died. That's one of the big stories that I remember about Wyatt.
Interesting. I guess that's pretty much it. It's also interesting that, well, first off, with the actual, shootout, I was kind of thinking, okay, so we're, the shootout is happening, but this isn't one of those times, the massacre where, as it's starting, the Doctor is hightailing it back to the TARDIS. Yeah. And it's okay, so they're still there, but they're not really doing anything. And then Dodo just runs into the middle of it, I guess to save Doc Holliday, and ends up, in the crossfire, basically. Yeah. So...
other minor point, but then again, this was very stereotypical of 50s and 60s Westerns. If you've got a 6-gun, you would never fan it like that because it would, cause your hand. So, they are repeating. You would just simply fire it. So, doing that whole thing like that, that you saw a lot of that in TV and in films, but no, real cowboys wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Also, none of them really understood the meaning of cover. There was one person who, got behind the spokes of a wheel. And it's there's a lot of space between those spokes that's not really helping you.
Yeah.
There was one guy who, barely was covered by, the little platform on one of the buildings. Even Doc Holliday, he kind of got down behind a bag or something. Yeah. But it's Ringo can very clearly shoot you. So... we can talk about there was no blood, but this is a kid's show technically.
Yeah.
But that was kind of odd. It's we have this entire giant set. No one's really ducking for any real cover on here.
And again, vague memory that it really didn't happen like that. It really was the guys literally just stood there and shot at each other.
Yeah.
That they really didn't try to take cover. It was a bloodbath.
Yeah.
They were out to kill each other. It's family feud, blood feud, Hatfields and McCoys type stuff. So.
Well, that was the other thing too, because they obviously say start firing at them, even before they get into range, to keep them occupied. But it was a good 10 or 15 seconds before Wyatt and Virgil actually did start to duck for cover, and it's I feel like they should have been shot by now, unless the Clantons are just lousy shots, which is why they had Ringo, I guess.
Yeah, and of course, telescoped for TV, a good pistol like that would have shot way further than the distance they had on that set.
Yeah.
So anyway, again, all that stuff very minor. Again, overall speaking, a good script, a well done production. Excellent sets, and I certainly hope that the whatever's up next lives up to this, because I don't want to sit through another
the Savages
one of those.
Is next.
Yeah, the Savages. Let's hope that's at least minimally better than the Celestial Toymaker.
At the beginning of this episode, when it said written by Donald Cotton, and you asked, do we like that writer? And I was I can't keep track of them anymore. We've had so many different episodes of varying degrees of quality that I couldn't really remember. Like, is this one of the ones that was really good?
Well,
but I will try to at least try to remember him because this one was really good.
Because Dennis Spooner did some really good stuff, but didn't he write part of? He was the one who was tasked with trying to clean up the master plan.
Yeah, he took over the Daleks' master plan. And, I mean, for the most part, like, the episodes were okay. They just had a lot of problems that carried over from other episodes or, you know. Yeah. But it was...
Didn't he write Marco Polo?
No. That was John Lucarotti.
Oh, that's right.
I believe.
Lucarotti.
But I do remember Dennis Spooner wrote something that was really good.
Yeah.
So, and I guess right now, of all of them, like, I don't remember who wrote Celestial Toymaker, so if they pop up again, I'm probably not going to remember and be like, oh, yeah, they were the ones that wrote that one. But other than them, like, I guess the only one who's really, like, kind of on thin ice is Terry Nation, just after the Christmas episode and the debacle of the master plan.
Yeah. Well, several of the commenters have said, you know, he was off of his game because he was trying to sell the Daleks to America or something like that. So
yeah, it was basically just the BBC wanted a 12-part Dalek episode, and then things sort of happened, and that's what we ended up with. So, but anyway, yes, this was really good, a really good episode, and I'm very curious to see where we are going next time with the Savages in the future. So, I mean, you know, you can sort of sit here and be like, okay, Savages, well, we can sort of maybe take a guess at what the Savages could be. But the fact that they did say that they are in the future, it's like, okay, so are these space Savages? I mean, we had a space Noah's Ark, so...
Yeah, maybe it's, you know, after some apocalyptic event, maybe it's, you know, like after a nuclear war or something like that.
Maybe.
When mankind has gone back to the Stone Age.
Yeah. Or... You know, just with you saying that, it could also be funny if they actually went back to Skaro and we finally met up with the Thals again. So, but then that would mean bringing back the Daleks. But I don't think we're doing. I don't think we're doing the Daleks for a while. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. You got anything else?
I got nothing.
All right, then. With all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of our Doctor Who Classic reactions, you can click on the playlist, you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.